From popcorn stand to fortune. How a millionaire CEO's choice shocked 83 finalists at midnight. The clock struck 12 as the light dimmed in the grand ballroom. A heavy hush descending over the anxious crowd. 93 hopefuls, once regular folks now teetering on the edge of a life-changing fortune, leaned in, eyes wide, hearts racing. Each person had a unique story: a cashier, a teacher, a retired fireman, but tonight, they were united by their dreams and the looming presence of the enigmatic billionaire, Max Thorne. Known for his extravagant choices and unpredictable decisions, he had everyone on edge, and all were wondering what shocking twist awaited them. A gust of wind rushed through the open balcony, carrying whispers of excitement and anxiety. A chandelier overhead flickered, casting ghostly shadows that danced along the walls, mocking the tension in the air. Suddenly, an enormous projection screen flickered to life, revealing the unnerving grin of Max himself, a digital presence but larger than life. "Ladies and gentlemen," he roared, voice booming across the room, "you're not just finalists. You're about to discover the real meaning of extreme opportunity." The crowd gasped. Those words hung in the air like a potent spell, weaving an intricate web of fear and desire. Murmurs rippled through the ranks. What did he mean by real meaning? A 1 million prize was already on the line. But was that all? As sweat trickled down foreheads, each finalist's heart thumped like a drum in the deep, primal rhythm of anticipation. Then came the first strange twist. A deep reverberation shook the room, and a trapdoor opened beneath the shadowed stage, revealing an ancient-looking pedestal with a glittering box atop it. The crowd fell silent, breaths held tight. A few exchanged nervous glances, eyes darting. "This is it," whispered a contestant, clutching a friend's arm. "It's about to get insane." The box glinted ominously, teasing with secrets that could change their lives forever. Max's smile widened, eyes flashing with mischief. "Inside this box lies a chance that will reshape everything you know about competition." And here he paused, building suspense until every person felt a lump in their throat. "Only 83 of you will move forward after tonight." Shock clambered to the surface like bubbling lava, each finalist's mind racing. Who would be deemed worthy? What happened to the rest? Someone in the back gasped, and whispers escalated, some terrified, others eager. The stakes had just shot to the moon. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the whispers swelled, a thick tension hung like fog. Each finalist looked at the shimmering box with a blend of fear and hope, wondering what it contained. Was it a ticket into the exclusive realm of wealth and success, or a trap masked as a prize? As Max gestured towards it, something sparked in the crowd, an electric connection of ambition and dread. What did the box hold? And who would emerge triumphant in this twisted game? The silence crackled with unspoken questions as every heart skirted the edge of disbelief, ready to plunge into the chaos of opportunity. The tension in the room was palpable. Each breath felt like a lifeline to the fragile hopes of the finalists, now reduced to a mere 83 in Max's ruthless game. All eyes remained glued to the mystical box, a blinding beacon of fate surrounded by shadows of uncertainty. It seemed to pulsate, daring someone to come closer. Then, breaking the tense silence, a voice cut through the air. "What's the catch?" A middle-aged woman, her face lined with fatigue but determination, stepped forward. The crowd gasped. Her earnestness was a startling contrast to the mocking atmosphere. Max laughed, the sound echoing ominously from the projection. "You're all so eager, but life isn't just about taking. It's about the sacrifices you make for what you want. This box demands a choice. Choose wisely or face the consequences." A chill cascaded through the crowd. Consequences? What did he mean? The woman, undeterred, called out, "What do we have to lose?" As she spoke, a whisper of courage grew in the room. In that second, everything shifted. Boldness intertwined with fear, teasing a fragile logic. The power to choose was almost intoxicating. Max's smile faded, replaced by a more sinister grin. "Ah, but your choice will not be your own alone. Gather your courage, and one brave soul must come forward to open the box. The others must stay behind. Whoever opens it must then offer their fate to the group." The crowd erupted into frantic chatter. One by one, anxious glances darted around as they wandered between disbelief and determination. "What happens if we fail?" a young man asked, face pale. Max tilted his head mockingly. "If you don't take a risk, you'll simply vanish into obscurity, among those who never dared to dream." Gasps echoed, the gravity of his words hanging heavy. What did it mean to vanish? The thought gnawed at the hopeful finalists, binding them tighter in that unfamiliar cloak of desperation. The atmosphere crackled as thoughts churned. Faces reflected varying degrees of resolve and doubt. Who could be brave enough to untwist the thread of uncertainty? The young woman nudged her friend, suggesting, "You've always been the risk-taker. Why not step up?" With each moment that stretched into eternity, hearts raced. The purpose of the box was becoming clearer, yet the fear loomed larger. The large clock ticking behind Max seemed to grow louder, each tick echoing as if counting down to something far more ominous than just decisions. Suddenly, a man, visibly shaken, took a deep breath. "I'll do it," he declared, stepping toward the pedestal, determination etched into his features. Silence descended like a spell as everyone's eyes fell upon him, a blend of admiration and horror surging through the crowd. Max clapped slowly, basking in the moment. "Good choice. But remember, once this is open, there's no turning back. You must be prepared to face what lies within." The man's hands trembled, hovering over the gleaming box. The room held its collective breath, anticipation mixing with dread, a chaotic symphony of emotions flooding every corner. As he lifted the lid, an intense light burst outward, illuminating the ballroom. But it was the collective gasp from the audience that truly froze time. What would this choice unleash? Despite not knowing if it would lead to fortune or peril, the clock ticked on toward a fate that could reshape destinies forever. In that moment, they knew they were entangled in a web of opportunity, danger, and the dark lure of ambition. What erupted from the box next would reveal the depths of their resolve, but at what cost? The light spilled forth from the box like a sunburst, illuminating shocked faces, each one a mirror of disbelief and dread. Whispers swirled through the room, a mix of awe and fear as their eyes adjusted to the blinding glow. It felt like time had halted, but the clock behind Max continued its relentless ticking. In that divine radiance, shadows danced against the walls, and something shifted within the box. The man who dared to lift the lid staggered back, his expression shifting from resolve to horror. "What is this?" he stammered, his voice suddenly small. From within the glowing depths, a sound emerged like the soft rustle of paper or the gentle hum of a distant melody. Then, a tall, shimmering figure began to materialize, ethereal and cloaked in a haze of golden light, defying logic and reality. Gasps echoed, turning into muffled screams as the apparition spoke, its voice echoing like thunder in the charged atmosphere. "Welcome to the crossroads of fate. Your courage brings forth a truth revealed, yet unclaimed. All depends on your will." It intoned, the words heavy with significance. Max's eyes glimmered with amusement and something darker, as if he could already see the chaos unfurling. "You see? The box is just the beginning," he said, throwing his hands wide. "You don't just decide your fate. You choose your reality. One of you must speak your deepest wish." The crowd erupted into chaos. "What does that even mean?" someone cried, fear mixing with desperation. "What if our wishes betray us?" Another voice chimed in, now frantic. The thought hung in the air like a thick fog, choking their hopes. The shimmering figure loomed larger, its glow pulsing with the rhythm of their fears. "Wishes unbound are both curse and blessing. Speak and risk all, or succumb to the shadows that shall claim your silence forever. Fear gripped the brave man who had opened the box. He was now only a shadow of the bold figure who had stepped forward seconds before. Faces turned toward him, some pleading, others accusatory. His heart raced like a whirlwind, caught between the dazzling promise and the insidious threats lurking beneath. Someone must make the choice. We can't just stand here. A woman yelled, her voice rising above the fray. What do we truly want? As if ignited by her fervor, others began to shout their desires. I want freedom. I wish for wealth. I just want my family back. Each wish tore through the chaos like shards of glass, puncturing the air with piercing clarity and raw emotion. But the figure's light flickered. Choose wisely. Unmeasured desires can turn swiftly to despair. It cautioned, raising a delicate hand that shimmered like 1,000 stars in the sea of voices. A young girl cried out, "We can't wish blindly. We need a plan." Her small form quivered, but in her eyes shone a fervor unmatched. Wariness twisted in every heart. Would they truly be able to navigate this treacherous path? Would courage ripple through the crowd and forge clarity from chaos? Or would pettiness and rivalries emerge in the face of their shared dream? Max stepped forward, a sinister grin plastered on his face. Ah, the beauty of choice. Watch now, as the threads of fate begin to weave or unravel. As the shouting simmered, a heavy silence fell over them, every heartbeat echoing the impending doom or hope hanging in the air. Could they handle what came next? Would their wishes taint them or elevate them? The choices they made could spell the difference between triumph and ruin. In that moment of hanging anxiety, when everything felt as if it could snap, one question loomed larger than all the others. What would they risk to seize their deepest desires? The air in the room thickened with an electric charge, as though the collective tension had become a living entity. Voices faded into an uneasy murmur, replaced by the muffled sound of a heartbeat echoing in each chest. Max stood in the center, basking in the shifting tides of emotion, watching as the group spiraled deeper into their anxieties. Then, a shout broke through the silence, sharp as a knife. I want to be rid of my mistakes. I want to go back. It was a middle-aged man, his face pale and lined with regret. His voice trembled, but there was a desperation in it that drew everyone's gaze. The crowd hung onto his wish with bated breath. I can't live with the choices I've made. The shimmering figure's glow pulsated, almost in response to the raw emotion expressed. The past is a wisdom clad in shadows, it replied, its voice resonating through the stillness. To erase your past is to risk the strength you've gleaned from suffering. The man flinched at the harsh truth, anger flooding his expression. But what good is strength when it's coupled with pain? His eyes were wild, almost manic, the flicker of hope teetering on the edge of despair. Just then, a woman stepped forward, her brow furrowed. We have to think logically. What if we wish for something that'll turn against us? She clutched a small charm around her neck, a family heirloom that had seen better days. What if our desires consume us? Time is running out, Max interrupted, his voice cutting through the mounting confusion. You have mere seconds to claim your reality. What will it be? His eyes sparkled with mischief, enjoying the spectacle of their turmoil. Someone take that plunge, shouted the girl again, her face determined. We need a wish that unites us, a wish for all. Her voice momentarily steadied the room. Murmurs of agreement rippled like waves across the crowd, everyone clinging to a flicker of hope amidst their fears. They stared at her in wonder, as if her small frame contained the weight of their collective dreams. I wish for clarity, she declared, voice steady and powerful. It wasn't one wish, it was a call to arms. Let us see the truth, no matter how dark. But before the shimmer of the figure could respond, a hushed figure in the back shouted, what if the truth is too much to bear? The crowd turned, reactions shifted from hopeful to fearful once again, the delicate balance threatening to spiral out of control. The golden light from the figure lashed out, shaping into a flicker of uncertainty. Every truth you seek has consequences, and not all of them are merciful, it warned. the shimmering edges smoothing into a menacing hue. Max's laughter rang out, echoing through the gathering like a thunderclap. Oh, but isn't that the beauty of it? The risk is what makes the wish worth having. The group wavered. Fear clashed against hope as eyes darted back and forth. It was clear now the stakes weren't just their desires. They were playing with destinies, forging bonds that could shatter or heal. As the glow began to dim, a shadow slid across the floor, an oily slick that swallowed the edges of light. Whispers of the past tinged the air, promises of ruin seeping through the crowd's collective thoughts. Fear not the risk, nor the shadows, the figure intoned, but the comfort was drowned under the weight of doubt. Would the light reveal what they needed to see, or what they dreaded to face? A feral scream erupted from the back, cutting through the murmurs. You're all going to regret this. Just like that, the room seemed to spin into chaos again. Would they stand together, united by fear? Or would betrayal stake its claim among them? And with every heartbeat pulsing ominously, one question rang loud above the fray. What unseen truths lay ready to be unveiled, lurking just beneath their wishes? The air crackled with tension, the room caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The figure flickered ominously, shadows congregating in the corners like conspirators waiting for their moment. The golden glow that had radiated warmth now felt like a warning, each pulse of light growing dimmer. Max surveyed the crowd, a frenzied meal of bleak despair and gleeful anticipations. You wanted a wish that unites, didn't you? He taunted, the sly smile playing on his lips. Let us see how far you're willing to go. Whispers spiraled through the group, frayed nerves sparking conversations that danced around uncertainty. What if we really see everything? A woman's voice trembled, and her hands shook at her sides. What if we find out things we'd rather forget? It's a gamble, someone shouted, anger shot through fear. And I'm not going to wager my sanity. Sanity? The first man questioned, still racked with his regrets. Tears glistened in his eyes, a mix of rage and yearning. What's that when faced with the ghosts of our own past? The infinite possibilities simmered in the air as the group united briefly over their collective anxiety. Max's gaze flickered over their faces, savoring the sight of hearts open and ragged, desperate for some clarity amidst the chaos. Focus. You either choose together or let the shadows choke you. His voice dropped to a whisper, the finality of it sending chills across the room. A young man leaned into the center, breathing deeply. Fine. I'll take the risk if the rest of you will. He took a step forward, his voice steadying as he stared into the flickering glow. I wish for us to see everything, the painful, the beautiful, the truth, damn it. Together, gasps rippled through the crowd. His audacity felt like a life raft tossed into turbulent waters, and yet, it terrified them. Would they have the courage when faced with their realities? For a fleeting moment, the figure shimmered brightly, illuminating the faces around him. Then just as quickly, the glow twisted and morphed, coiling above them like a storm brewing. The truth you seek will demand its price. The voice ebbed into worried murmurs, thickening the tension. I in the corner. The woman with the charm clutched it tighter, her knuckles white. What is the cost? She whispered, her voice barely carrying over the rising din. The shadows thickened, shifting dangerously around the edges of the room. Every truth reveals a dark shadow, the figure warned, its light flickering like a candle battling against a harsh wind. Not all can bear it. Everyone held their breath as if anticipating a lightning strike. The walls seemed to pulse with energy, drawing them in, wrapping them in a suffocating embrace. Max leaned closer, excitement glimmering in his eyes. Are you ready to pay? A man in the back cried out, his voice laced with panic. We can't. We don't know what we're stepping into. Others murmured agreement, but one voice broke through, fierce and steady. This is our wish. We have to commit. But as hesitation warred with determination, a piercing screech ruptured the air. A window shattered somewhere, the sound echoing like a malevolent specter. Everyone instinctively recoiled, fear rippling through the crowd. The figure's glow dimmed even more, throwing grotesque shadows across their terrified faces. Will you seize clarity or succumb to chaos? It implored, the flicker of illumination waning. Max, now caught in the thrall of the moment, beckoned them to decide. The clock is ticking. Do you dare brave the truth that slithers beneath your desires? In that moment of tumult, courage slipped between fingers like sand. As the essence of chaos loomed larger, the crowd stood frozen, caught in a fragile balance of hope and horror. Would they take the plunge together, or would they shatter into a million pieces? Devastating truths too much to bear? The question echoed in their minds, draining the color from the walls, and the answer waited, tinged with darkness. The shadows pulsed, each moment stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. Max could feel the pulse of the room. Lost dreams weighed down their spirits like heavy fog. You have to decide, he prompted, his voice reckless with excitement, abandoning any pretext of concern. Will you face the abyss of your truths, or linger in ignorance? The figure, aglow with a sinister light, shifted slightly, as if coaxing them closer. A shudder ran through the crowd. People grasped at one another, eyes wide and searching for a flicker of reassurance. In that frantic sea of faces, a sense of unity flickered, vanishing just as quickly as it appeared. Let us just think this through, the woman with the charm pleaded again, her voice rising above the low hum of anxious murmurs. What if we lose everything? I'd rather lose everything than live a lie, someone shouted, echoing a sentiment that hung thick in the air. That spark ignited a chain reaction. Tell me we're not letting fear win. We deserve to know. Max grinned, the edges of his smile sharp enough to cut. Then let the truths come crashing. Without warning, the figure surged with light brighter, blinding. People shielded their eyes, but the illumination seeped through their fingers. Sharp cries filled the space. Truths started erupting like volcanoes, each revelation slamming into them, shaking the very foundation of their souls. I cheated on you. An anguished voice rang out, pulling back a curtain on betrayal. A young woman collapsed, hands over her mouth, disbelief pooling in her eyes. Shockwaves rippled through the crowd, and energy crackled with the heat of heartaches laid bare. What? Her partner's face twisted with pain. All this time, he staggered back, grief and fury battling for dominance. Max felt the air thicken with despair and, beneath it all, a twisted satisfaction bubbled. This was the chaos he longed for, a truth-fueled tempest to engulf them all. Who's next? He goaded, as shadows danced like phantoms hungry for the light. Desperation and anger dripped around them. Nearly palpable, a chilling breeze surged through the room. My daughter, a man croaked, voice cracking. I never told her I was leaving. The weight of guilt unfurled like an ancient scroll, revealing the horror of unspoken farewells. The crowd swayed, gripping each other tighter. Eyes glistened, something in the atmosphere shifted. Desperation mingled with resolve, a wild mixture brewing. Would pain drive them apart or bind them together? Max's heart raced, the echoes of their revelations reverberating in his chest. Would they crack like eggs, shells splintering into a million fragments, or would they solidify into something unbreakable? Fire away, he shouted, urging the chaos onward. More truths. Show them what they're truly made of. But just as one weighty truth teetered on the brink of spilling, the light faltered. The room dimmed, the golden glow retreating, and a hollow silence wrapped around them. Felt like the calm before a storm. Wait. The young man who had thrown down the challenge earlier stepped back, eyes glancing first at the figure and then at the machine-like shadows surrounding them. What happens if we all can't handle it? Max shrugged, feigning casualness. Then you'll just have to find out, won't you? And then, as if fate itself were taking a breath, the air changed. Something darker lurked beneath the surface. A low growl began to echo, rising from the shadows. The whispers of truths shattered seemed to awaken something sinister. Do you hear that? Someone shouted, eyes wide with terror. The ground trembled. The figure's light flickered ignominiously. You've chosen darkness, it hissed, its voice dripping with cruel delight. Max knew in that moment they were in over their heads. And the cost? They hadn't even begun to comprehend it. Brace yourselves, he yelled, as the shadows lunged forward, eager for their claim. What was waiting in the abyss? Would they drown or find salvation when the reckoning finally came? Only time would tell, but hope felt like a distant, flickering spark fading fast. The air crackled with dread as shadows unfurled, eager to consume everything in their path. A low roar echoed, vibrating through the very bones of those gathered. The figure, once a beacon of twisted hope, quivered as if sensing the rise of chaos it had unleashed. Max felt the pulse of fear beneath the surface, steady and relentless, like a heartbeat in the midst of a storm. Run! Get out! Someone screamed, panic slicing through the crowd. Chairs toppled, and bodies darted toward the exits. But the shadows coiled like serpents, blocking their escape. Max's pulse raced, a mix of exhilaration and terror flooding his veins. He had instigated this, had begged for truths to surface. Yet now dread clawed at his insides. Had he brought them too close to the edge? He could feel the weight of their eyes, a mix of blame and desperation, and he barely held back his own rising terror. "It's not safe," the woman with the charm shouted, her voice breaking amidst the chaos. "We need to hold on together." "No," shouted the young man, his expression twisted with anguish. "We can't hold on to lies. What do we do?" Max stepped forward, the darkness swirling dangerously close. "Dig deeper," he demanded. "Face what you fear. It's the only way." But even he wasn't convinced. The shadows lurched forward, coiling around him, whispering his own insecurities: loss, betrayal, defeat. He could almost taste the fear in the air, thick and bitter. "I can't," a voice shrieked, a man with wide, haunted eyes. "I can't take it. We didn't think." An unsettling laugh rose from the figure, sharp and discordant. "You wanted truth? You wanted the abyss? Here it is." With a violent thrust, it sent out tendrils of darkness. Flickering like candle flames in a storm, hearts began to race. People darted, clawing at the shadows like animals trapped in a snare. "Keep your truths close," the woman yelled, attempting to offer comfort, but her words were drowned out by despair. The room became a whirlpool of fear and anxiety. Max clutched the edge of a table, grounding himself. Had it been right to push them so far? The figure's wicked glee resonated as echoes of truths spiraled out of control. "More," it demanded, its voice like jagged glass. "Come forth. You wanted liberation? Face the consequences." Desperate and trembling, a girl stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. "I'm afraid I can't forgive him. I'll never forgive." "I'm sorry," her partner howled, his face twisted in despair. "I was lost, I didn't mean to." Max's vision blurred, heart racing wildly. This chaos had become a battlefield, one where every truth could slice deeper than any knife. He turned to face the figure, defiance igniting within him. "You think you can take them?" he roared. "No, they are stronger than you." But the shadows could smell his doubt. "No," the entity cooed darkly, "the darkness is insatiable." It surged closer, hungry for more. Above the disarray, a rumble pulsed softly, shocking the very ground they stood on, an echo of betrayal and pain, a warning of devastation. In that moment, time slowed, terror woven with clarity. "Together," Max shouted, a final reach of hope. "Face it together. Hold tight." As their voices merged, a cacophony of fears, hopes, and truths, the shadows paused. For the briefest heartbeat, the figures within the crowd seemed to mold into a single entity. And just as the shadows roared forward, ready to consume everything arm in arm, they pushed back. Would the unity be enough to stave off destruction? Would their collective strength tip the balance in a war against encroaching darkness? What lay on the other side of this reckoning? Would they conquer their pasts, or would the abyss swallow them whole? The shadows recoiled momentarily, as if struck by a wave of light, but that precious pause was fleeting. The oppressive darkness surged forward again, hungry for their fears, fanged and insatiable. Max felt it, every broken promise and shattered dream crowded within him, demanding to be released. It was unbearable, and he clung tighter to the hands of those around him, strangers bound now by choice, desperation, and maybe the hope of survival. Not yet, Max shouted, the words bursting from him like raw energy. You've faced worse. Remember your strength. His heart thundered as he pulled together everything he could muster. Beneath the swirling chaos, he reached for the shimmering threads of courage interlaced among them. Face your fear. Don't let it define you, he bellowed, his voice sharp against the dark. The crowd held their breath, as if waiting to see if they would obey or falter under the pressure. The energy in the room shifted, a palpable hum vibrating back to life. Then, one by one, the voices erupted. I forgive, shouted the woman with the charm, her eyes brightening as the shadows pulled back slightly, seeking weakness. I choose hope, she declared, her words lifting like a feather caught in a breeze. I will endure, a man yelled, his voice powerful and clear, breaking through the despair like sunlight. The shadows hissed, a sibilant sound of denial. What had begun as a cacophony became a symphony of defiance. A multitude of voices declared their truths, each contradictory and passionate, peeling back layers of pain. I've survived. Another voice joined in. I'm not afraid, rang out. With every proclamation, the darkness thinned, revealing glimpses of what lay beneath stories filled with endurance and resilience. Max glanced at the figure at the center. It twisted and writhed, its form undulating like smoke. No, it screamed, morphing into a shadowy visage reflecting their fears. You will not escape. Suddenly, it lashed out, tendrils striking wildly at the crowd. Max grappled with fear as he instinctively shielded the woman beside him. The energy thickened, charged with what they were claiming. A visceral truth struck him. Fear may have power, but so did love, forgiveness, and unity. With a surge of courage, he took a step closer to the chaos. Together, he roared again, urgency filling every syllable. We will not succumb. Every soul remained locked into the rhythm of their cries, battling against the siren call of despair. The shadows began to howl, a deafening cacophony that clawed at their minds. Sweat dripped down Max's forehead, each heartbeat like a drum, blending with the rising tide of voices erupting into a single force. But suddenly, cracks split the darkness. The shadows faltered, splintering like fractured glass. Hope surged through the group, brightening the air, palpable and blazing. Among the commotion was a fleeting sound, a soft, fragile laugh that echoed like a bell. Max turned, squinting through the shadows. Who had just laughed? Then, almost as if in slow motion, the darkness began to unravel, revealing glimmers of hope shining through the cracks. But that laugh, it echoed once more, weaving through the chaos, drawing whispers and glances. In the heart of the swirling storm, the laughter became contagious, bolstering their collective strength. Yet, dread knotted Max's stomach. He felt a new surge of darkness creeping in from another direction. What had they awakened? What other truths lay waiting to be unleashed? And who had laughed? Uncertainty clung to the air like a heavy fog. Max steadied himself, glancing at the shifting shadows, knowing danger still loomed. Each heartbeat drummed with urgency. Would their collective strength be enough to meet whatever was next? The laughter rang out again, floating on the charged air, punctuating the chaos. Max's heart raced. It was a sound in stark contrast to the chaos swirling around them, unsettling yet oddly comforting. He searched the crowd, eyes wide, desperate to identify its source. Who's laughing? He shouted, hoping his voice would cut through the noise. The faces around him were a mixture of confusion, fear, and something else, curiosity. The shadows around them swirled impatiently, as if the darkness itself felt threatened. With every second, the dark tendrils grew stronger, curling and coiling, waiting for one misstep to strike. Max clenched his jaw, each instinct in him screaming to fight back. But he knew the crowd needed more. They needed a focal point, something to rally around. Listen, he urged, raising his voice high. This isn't just about fighting. We must embrace what we've hidden. what we're afraid to face. Pull that laughter into this light. One by one, people hesitated but then nodded, their faces shifting from dread to determination. Fear transformed into something sharper. The laughter continued to echo, now mingling with the powerful affirmations rising from the crowd. It was becoming a chant, a rhythm igniting the atmosphere as they spoke their truths. The shadows twisted violently, distorting under the force of their collective realization. "I am worthy," shouted a voice, soaring above the rest, igniting a wave. "I will not be silenced." With every declaration, broken fragments of the familiar crashed against the oppressive darkness. Something shifted. There was a tremor in the ground beneath them, a crack that splintered beyond just the shadows. Max stared at the fissures appearing in the air, lines of light piercing through. "Stay strong. Do not yield," he declared, pushing forward, drawing on the might of their unity. But then, that laughter rang out again, flowing like water through the fractured foundation before him. It glinted with a strange clarity, a melody of hope caught within the deepest fear. There was something almost childlike about it, a spark that beckoned who could find joy amidst so much despair. The shadows grumbled, swirling angrily, tightening their hold. Max felt the pressure. It gripped like a tightening vice around his chest. He thought of each person around him, the burdens they carried, their stories of loss, regret, love, and pain. Suddenly, he knew. It's not just fear, he shouted, clarity washing over him. It's also the joy we've hidden away. Let it rise. Speak it. I used to be happy. Someone cried out, their voice piercing through the wailing shadows. I want to feel that again. The air crackled, alive with vulnerability, pouring forth like rain after a drought. The shadows writhed in response, and raged, but they were weakening. The crowd erupted, each voice raising a story, twisting through the darkness. Max felt momentum swell, a tide rising beyond their darkest corners. Yet, a chilling sensation slithered up his spine. Amidst the rebellion, a fleeting thought buried itself in his mind. The laughter, still echoing, sounded too familiar. Could it belong to someone lost? Someone they had thought beyond reach? Who is it? He whispered, fear suddenly taking root deep within. Because if that laughter belonged to someone dear, it meant they were no longer alone in this dark. The energy shifted. Questions swirled and hung heavy. With every heartbeat, that darkness retreated just a bit more. But something far more unsettling was emerging behind it. What if that laughter carried a truth they weren't ready to confront? Who would they become once they faced it? In that very instant, shadows thickened again, gathering to form a figure, a looming presence from beyond, hinting at a darkness deeper still. Max felt a chill run through him. Something was coming, something worse than they had ever encountered. Would they uncover the laughter's origin? Before it was too late? The air vibrated with electric tension as the figure materialized from the shadows. It loomed larger than before, almost familiar, almost comforting. Max's heart raced. The crowd recoiled as recognition dawned on a few faces. Whispers rippled through the throng, a wave of shock lapping at their resolve. No, not now. Don't you get it? The figure murmured, its voice layered like thick fog. You have invited your past back. Do you really think you can escape from it? It was the figure of someone beloved, a presence once revered but now encased in darkness. The laughter grew louder, echoing bittersweet memories, fading smiles, and moments they never wanted to forget. I'm here, it continued, sculpting the shadows around it into memories of laughter infused with pain. Did you think you could banish me? Your heartache clings to me. Max felt the weight of their sorrow converge, thick like molasses in the air. With each revealing truth, each wish laid bare, the darkness around them twisted tighter. The shadows pulled back momentarily, revealing the shimmering glow of truth from within. Yet that warmth was fragile, and the reminders of failure lured them back into darkness like moths to a flame. No, someone shouted, stepping forward. It was the young girl who had declared their wish for unity. She stood firm, summoning her courage. You don't have to be defined by your pain. We are not our past. Those words hung heavy, powerful like an anchor amidst the chaos. Max felt the buzz of hope surge through the crowd, igniting brighter than before. The laughter seemed to hesitate. Can you really break free? The figure laughed mockingly, eyes blazing with torment and love both tangled in eternal conflict. I choose now. I choose joy. The girl screamed, tears streaming down her face. You may haunt us, but you 1T rule us. The room erupted into a chorus of affirmation. Yes, we 1T let you consume us. We are more than our ghosts. Voices shouted in unison as the shadows recoiled. Love and forgiveness surged like a rising tide. We are strong, together. What do you know of strength? The figure hissed, its form shimmering angrily. The sinister laugh was swallowed in the swell of their determination. One by one, the crowd erupted with declarations of resilience, clinking together like links in a chain. I survive. I remember but do not fear. My past fuels me. Each voice joined like a roaring ocean crashing against the walls, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. You don't have the right, the figure roared, but the energy pulsed even stronger. Every truth can be a path forward, one man declared, causing the figure to shudder. Enough! It emanated a furious wave, straining against the light. Shadows writhed and lashed out. But we are going to break your spell, the young girl shouted, defiance igniting their collective spirit. Face it, you have to accept all of you, Max bellowed, sweeping a hand toward the crowd, focusing on their united essence. Only then can we banish this darkness for good. As those words hung in the air, tangible like a zesty sunrise, the figure faltered, flickering. Their voices melded into an anthem against despair, propelling pain into liberation. The shadows twisted wildly, coursing against a heartbeat that echoed like a war drum. One final pulse of light shot through the crowd. Clarity surged alongside the acceptance of their truths, a dazzling white-hot flame. We are not defined by what was taken from us, they shouted in defiance. Power coursed as strength intertwined with each declaration. Go, the figure hissed, sensing its defeat. Shed the weight, but know you will always carry your shadows. And with that, luminous energy struck out like a flame igniting a canvas, washing the shadows away, unraveling the figure into a flurry of bright particles. Clarity illuminated every corner of the room. Gasps erupted like fireworks, eyes wide with revelation. The shadows dissolved, leaving behind warmth that swelled in their chests. Dread faded into triumph, and in that moment, they knew. Yes, the way of their truths would linger, but they wouldn't shackle them to despair. They could rise, transformed and unafraid. Max felt himself swept up in the joy surging like wildflowers breaking through hardened earth. Cheers erupted, souls intertwined in ecstatic jubilance. This wasn't just survival, but an embrace of the raw, glorious spectrum of their existence. With one last echoing laugh, the darkness disappeared entirely, leaving the golden light shimmering like a new dawn. Hushed reverence alight in the room. Max looked around, lingering on the faces transformed by fire and struggle. They had dared to confront what lay hidden, and in that confrontation, they found freedom. They would be stronger, faced with the truths that could easily have crushed them. They gathered as family, forged through fragility, now soaring with courage. Thank you, the girl breathed, her eyes shining. No, Max smiled, a warmth spreading in his heart. Thank you for reminding me what true strength looks like. As the echoes of their stories blended into a singular promise of resilience, all knew one thing: they were not alone. Each triumphant step forward was a story worth celebrating. And together, they stepped into a new beginning. Hey, we've reached the end of this episode, but before you leave, listen up. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss a single one of the exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions, theories, and what you thought of this ending. And lastly, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let's spread the message of hope and resilience.